You ever feel like everyone around you is just an NPC going through the same loops every day? The same routine, the same conversations, the same mistakes. Yeah, that's how it felt for me. Except, I was the one who wasn't supposed to exist. They've been chasing me for 11 years now. Interpol, CIA, Mossad, even some private military guys you've never heard of. Not because I'm a terrorist. Not because I stole anything. Because I found a flaw. A beautiful, terrifying flaw in the global financial system. And when they asked me to hand it over, I said no. And that's when the game began. Let me start with the money, 'cause that's what everyone asks about. I own 1.2 million Bitcoin. Bought most of them in 2012, back when they were worth less than a coffee. I was 19, living in my parents' basement. Dropped out of community college. Acne, bad haircut, and a deep feeling that the world was a stage, and I was the only one without a script. Today, that Bitcoin is worth over $40 billion. But I live in a studio apartment with no furniture. Just a desk, a bed, and 17 monitors. I eat instant noodles 3 times a week. Not because I'm poor, because I can't be bothered to cook. I own 3 identical black hoodies. Haven't bought new shoes in 6 years. I'm a perfectionist. Every line of code I write is clean. Every escape route is planned 3 months in advance. I once spent 2 weeks mapping the air vents of a hotel in Hong Kong. Not because I needed to, because it was a Tuesday. And I was bored. But here's what they don't know about me. The part that would make them laugh. I'm desperately, painfully introverted. When I'm in a crowd, I perform. I smile. I laugh at jokes I don't find funny. I buy people drinks and ask them about their lives. So they don't ask about mine. They see a confident, charming genius. But inside, I'm screaming. I don't want to talk, or I don't want to explain myself. I just want to disappear. So I do. Every few weeks I vanish, new city, new name, new face. Subtle cosmetic surgery. A doctor in Istanbul who asks no questions. Not because I'm paranoid, because if I stay too long, people start to see the real me. The one who sits in silence for 12 hours, staring at a screen. The one who hasn't had a real conversation in over a decade. To me, this whole world feels like a video game, and everyone around me, NPCs, they follow their loops, go to work, scroll on their phones, complain about the weather. They never look up. But the authorities? They're the boss fight you can't skip, and they get closer every time. Let me tell you about the closest they ever got. For times they almost had me. Each time, I learned something. Dubai, 2019. I was careless. No, not careless. Complacent. I'd been living in a penthouse for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Too long. I used a credit card to order room service. Steak, medium rare, sparkling water. And 30 minutes later, 18 agents from the UAE Cybercrimes Unit were in the lobby. I watched them on the security feed. They had my photo, had my floor, taking the stairs and the elevator. I had about 20 seconds. I didn't run. I sat down at my laptop, calm, like you're calm when you've already lost. I hacked the building's fire alarm system, but I didn't trigger the alarm. Too obvious. Instead, I triggered only the sprinklers on their floor. Floor 7. And I rerouted the water pressure so it erupted like a geyser. Not a gentle mist. A blast. Water hammered the ceiling tiles down. Agents slipped on the marble floor. Radios shorted out. Chaos. Beautiful, a perfect chaos. I walked past them in a housekeeping uniform. Stole it from a laundry cart 2 days earlier. Just in case. Pushed a cart with towels and my laptop disguised as a tray. One agent looked right at me. Did you see anyone run past? I pointed toward the stairwell. He and 3 others ran that way. I took the service elevator to the loading dock. Climbed into a laundry truck. Lay still for 20 minutes. The twist. I'd already planted a false GPS signal on my own phone. Taped it under a seat in the airport shuttle. They chased that signal to the international terminal. while I took a bus to the desert. Crossed into Oman on a fake passport I made myself. That night, I slept in a Bedouin camp. The stars were incredible, almost felt human again. Next escape was Berlin, 2021. They learned from Dubai. No more public manhunts. Instead, a trap. A fake hacker convention called CypherCon. Beautiful website, impressive speakers list. Even some real hackers who didn't know it was a sting. I knew the moment I saw the badges. The QR codes were too perfect. No typos, no design flaws. Amateurs. Real conferences are always a mess. I attended anyway. Why? 'Cause I was bored. And because I wanted to see their faces. Wanted to look the enemy in the eye. Just once, without them knowing. I wore a fake beard, glasses, a backpack. Blended in with hundreds of other awkward, brilliant, paranoid people. Even sat through a talk on blockchain forensics. The irony wasn't lost on me. Halfway through the keynote, I stood up, walked calmly to the fire exit, triggered a drone I'd parked on the roof. That drone dropped a dozen identical USB sticks into the crowd, each labeled as Bitcoin keys, do not copy. The room erupted. People screamed. Fights broke out. Agents were swarmed. One got punched in the face. Another had his gun pulled from his holster. By accident, I slipped out the back, changed clothes in a bathroom, hoodie and jeans to a cheap suit and tie, walked past the same agents. 10 minutes later, wearing a police vest, I'd printed on an off-site 3D printer. Fake ID that said, security consultant. I helped them secure the perimeter. One tired-looking agent handed me a bottle of water. These people are animals. I said, they're just scared. And I meant it. She never knew. None of them did. That night, I laughed alone in my hotel room for 10 minutes. Singapore, 2022. They finally got smart. No public appearances. No fake conventions. They tracked me through my power consumption. I was mining a small amount of crypto in my apartment. Not for the money. I just liked the hum of the rigs. They cross-referenced grid data with building occupancy records. Narrowed it down to my floor. I woke up at 3:07 a.m. to the sound of a keycard sliding into my door. Beep. Click. I had few seconds. I didn't grab my drives. Didn't grab my cash. Didn't even put on shoes. Grabbed a single burner phone and jumped. Below me, the building's swimming pool. I checked the depth 2 weeks earlier. 2.2 meters. Just enough to survive if I tucked my body right. I hit the water. Felt like concrete. My shoulder? Dislocated. Still have a scar from the surgery I performed on myself later that night, using YouTube tutorials and a bottle of vodka. Not my finest moment. I swam underwater to the far edge, climbed out. I walked into the casino next door, dripping wet, shirtless, holding a phone. A security guard approached. I showed him a fake hotel keycard. Drunk guest, wrong room. He laughed, pointed me to the bathroom. By the time the authorities realized my apartment was empty, I was sitting at a blackjack table, chips in hand, wearing a casino robe, pretending to be a tourist from Switzerland. My hair was still wet. The dealer asked if I'd been swimming. I said, it's a humid country. I played blackjack for 4 hours while they searched the building. Won $17,000. Tipped the dealer $2,000. She smiled at me. A real smile. Not the NPC kind. For a moment, I felt something close to happiness. Then I walked out, took a ferry to Indonesia, disappeared. Again. That was the night I realized, I can't do this forever. And then, it took me 3 years to erase my identity. Not the money. The money was never the problem. Here's what I actually did. First, the donations. I kept every single Bitcoin. Not a single coin burned. But I couldn't just sit on $40 billion. That would make me no better than the systems I escaped from. So I found well-balanced NGOs. Ones that actually help people. No corruption, no political agendas, just clean, effective organizations. Medical aid, education, disaster relief. I donated 80%, $32 billion. Gone to good works. I didn't announce it. No press releases, no foundation with my name. Just anonymous transfers. Spread across 3 years. Small enough to not raise suspicion. Large enough to change lives. And that felt better than any escape. Second, what I kept. 20% for myself. About $8 billion. Enough to live quietly but comfortably. No mansions, no yachts. Just a small apartment in a town no one visits. Good coffee, a reliable laptop, and a cat. Third, the code. I deleted every backdoor, every exploit, every piece of malware I'd ever written. Burned hard drives, smashed USBs with a hammer, poured acid on SSDs. Took me 2 weeks. Felt like deleting my diary. Fourth, the identity. I chose a new name. Not randomly. Carefully, something common and forgettable. David Chun. Created a backstory. Born in Vancouver. Parents died young. Raised by an aunt. Studied psychology at a small university in Canada. Even created fake social media accounts that had been active for years. Posting photos of food and sunsets. Then I enrolled in a real university. A small, unremarkable school in the Pacific Northwest. Told no one about my past. Lived in a dorm with a roommate who thought I was boring. I liked being boring. I studied psychology. And for the first time in my life, I found something that fascinated me more than code. The human mind. All those years of reading people's microexpressions, predicting their behavior, staying one step ahead. Turns out, I had a gift for understanding trauma, including my own. I learned about attachment theory, about introversion as a survival strategy, about the difference between solitude and loneliness. I graduated, did a residency, and became a licensed psychiatrist. So now I work in a small clinic in a town you've never heard of. 1 traffic light. A library open 3 days a week. More trees than people. I see patients who are anxious, depressed, lost. I help them find their way back to themselves. And no one knows. Sometimes a patient will mention Bitcoin or hacking in passing. And my heart skips. But I just nod and take notes. One time, a teenager who'd read way too many dark web stories asked me, "Doctor, do you think the ghost is still out there?" I smiled and said, "I think the ghost is finally at peace." She nodded. Then she changed the subject. "I have a small apartment now. Books. Real ones. The kind with actual pages. A cat adopted me from the parking lot. I named her Solo. Seemed right. Every morning, I make a cup of tea and watch the sunrise. I learned how to cook. Badly, but enthusiastically. I've made 2 friends. They don't know my real name, but they know my real laugh. And honestly, that's enough. Do I miss it? The chase, the power, the rush of outsmarting the world. No, what I miss is the person I could have been. The person who wasn't so afraid of being seen. The person who could have said goodbye to his parents. The person who could have just lived. But I'm learning. Slowly. I still don't talk much. My colleagues think I'm mysteriously introverted. They invite me out for drinks sometimes. I go once in a while. Have 1 beer. Leave early. They don't mind. And that's how it ends. Not with an explosion. Not with handcuffs. Not with some dramatic confession. Just a cup of tea. A cat. And a quiet morning. Knowing that $32 billion ended up helping people who actually needed it. That's better than any escape. Because in the end, the greatest wealth isn't Bitcoin. It's the lives you never see. The mornings nobody posts online. The friendships nobody brags about. The peace nobody can buy. I spent years hiding from the world. And the funny thing is, happiness was hiding in plain sight. If you made it this far, thank you. I don't tell this story to impress you. I tell it because I spent 11 years pretending to be someone I wasn't. And now, in this small way, I'm finally telling the truth. Subscribe to Slow Cabinet if you want more stories. Not just mine, others. Tales of people who escaped, who changed, who found their way back. I don't post often, but when I do, it's because I found another truth worth hiding. This is David, signing off. Be careful who you pretend to be. You might forget you're wearing a mask.